Good morning everybody from Tony's Top Tips Workshop, and welcome back. What it is today is I've had one or two emails and some requests from social media about the 4040 Pro candle and the offline controller. Now in my previous videos that I've done, you see now with the offline control I've shown how using coordinates you can get things back. That's basically what that was for, to show that remembering coordinates, writing them down, if anything goes, you can get back to those coordinates, which is vital when you're in, into a program. Yes, you would have to run the program again because you can't get where it stopped. It's very difficult to do that. To get where the program went wrong, and then you'd have to run the program again, and then it would pick up them from where it left off. But the questions I've asked is tool changing. Obviously you can run a lot of programs with the same tool, but when you're talking about doing a roughing cut and then you want to change to a ball nose, fine ball nose for the final pass, there is an element of a cutter change, and a lot of people have been saying that how on earth do you actually change the cutter and actually get back to do in exactly the same place to start your program off. Well, I'm going to show you first with candle, and then I'm going to show you with the offline controller. I'm going to put a program in. There's one installed on the chip for the, and what it'll do is just to show you. It's not going to cut anything. I'm going to do it so that it's touched off the Z probe above the work surface, but you will see that it actually turns. Once you've done, you leave it where it is. Once you've done the cutter change, it will automatically go back to the start of where you've zeroed off for the work origin. Now I've been told, I did a bit of research into it, that when you actually go onto candle, in fact what I'll do is I'll take you over to candle, and then I'll show you what it entails. Right, here we are at candle. Now what I'll do is it's the actual program that I've just put in to show you, because it's a quick program, and that is, if you go down to open, brings Sainsmart up. That's just a test code. As you can see, it's already done for you, but this is, but although it looks like this, it isn't. It's probably about 2.5 inch in length, so it's quite a small cut, and I've just left the ball nose cutter in that's in the machine. Now obviously when you're wanting to set this up, you would jog your machine over to your start position of your program, which on this occasion is it'll start from there. So what I'll do is I'll jog the machine over to my start position. So if you go down here, always what I do, it's just, people have different views on it, but what I do is if I'm working from candle or I'm working from the offline controller, when I switch the machine on from if I'm going from offline controller to the candle, I always switch the machine off, switch it back on, and I've got the offline controller disconnected. It's pointless being on. And what I do is I always home the machine. So as you can see, that's 0 the machine coordinates, which are up there now. Okay, so that's the work coordinates are stored from last time. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm now going to jog the machine to a point. It's just on a piece of timber and it's just an X, that's all it is. So we'll jog the machine over.
Right, we're roughly over the start point, and what I'll do now is I will actually use the Z-probe touch off. Okay, now obviously because we're not cutting, what we don't want to do is touch material, so
Show you what I do, and it's not a particularly deep cut, is I would then go to the Z-probe touch off, which is there, and click that.
and what I do is, before it gets down to where it would do, all I do is do that there, touched off, so we know that that now is going to be above the material. This is just to show you. Obviously it's not a, I'll just put that out of the way. Right, so now we'll just jog that over a little bit more, so we're right over it, over where the X is. Everybody can see the X. There we are, we're roughly near enough. This is just to show you what happened. Right, we've loaded that program. The spindle won't be running, so
now you've already zeroed touched off with the probe, so we don't have to do that, but we have to zero. That would be your Z-probe if you were doing it normal with a piece of paper, but because we use a touch off probe, that's already done. Okay, that's showing you some coordinates up there. This is where we would zero then, right? So that's zeroed the work coordinates. That's those up there. All right. Now I believe they're stored in an INI file somewhere. So even when you switch off or go back onto the machine again, those coordinates come up. All right. So if at all anything happens, those coordinates are stored. I've never put it to the test because I've no need to put it to the test. Right, now what we've got there is it's zeroed off, job's ready to run, and then all we have to do is send it to the machine. I'll set the feed rate roughly about there. It's just so that the job gets over quick. So all I would do now is send that to the machine.
and as you can see, it's moved off from that position. That's that position there. That's your origin there, and as you can see, it's moved off from that position. That's that position there. That's your origin there, and as you can see, it's up there now. It's doing the R rather quickly, then on to M, and you can see where it's worked or where it's cut, it will be in blue where it's been. Alright, I'll just show you now. What we would do is, if we then, this were one toolpath that we've created, then the toolpath would be completed and it will go back to the work origin, as you'll see in a moment. But then we want to put like a different bit in to go around the outside and create a box. This is what we do then. So, which would be another toolpath created at the time you did your design. it's strange when you watch anything on the screen like this, how bits it goes from one part to another part, and you think, why didn't it complete that first? It's just how the G-code does it, or the software program that you're using.
I see that. Finishing off the, now it's going back to the A. It'll always show it finished on here before it finishes on the machine. It's just like ahead of itself. It's coming back here. Right. It's finished on the machine, on the software, right?
There, back to where you, and it'll tell you time elapse.
So that's completed. So now we come to a tool change. So it would be another toolpath that you would actually have to open. Okay, so what we'll do now is, I'll just put you on. Right, open. So we've opened that again, which would be another toolpath. Whether it be a rounding over bit or a ball nose bit, doesn't matter. It's come from the same software that's created the original toolpaths. Okay, so then we need to change it. So what we would do is jog the machine.
Right, as you can see, I've moved that away from that starting point. Okay, and this is just to show you that those coordinates are kept. Alright, now you would then change your cutter, whatever the cutter is that you're putting in for that particular toolpath. You would touch off as normal, and when you touch off,
those on the screen there would probably change because you will never get it back to that, but it's touched off. Okay, so that will be different in that box there for the Z probe. Okay, Z axis. So then imagine that we've done the cutter change, we're running another toolpath. Okay, now watch what happens now.
There we go. Going back to the start point, because it already remembers those coordinates. Okay, that's there. So it's remembered those. So now it's running your next toolpath, and it's doing whatever that toolpath is telling that to do, but it started exactly from the work origin. In my other software, my other videos, I was showing, what I was trying to do is show that you can, by using the coordinates on the offline control, you can pick up if anything does go wrong. I mean, I've never had a problem when I'm running toolpaths, or however many toolpaths I'm running, and cutter changes, it will always go back to that work origin. You know, if I moved it right across to somewhere here, it will go back there before it starts, back to work origin before it starts. So it's pretty simple to just do a cutter change, but you must remember to zero off. That will change there. Okay, when you zero off with another cutter, but that doesn't make any difference because you're zeroing off to the point of the G code. And if with another toolpath to actually install, then we just open another one. Once this is finished, you just open that, do a cutter change, and that'll do it. There you go, and it's now, as you can see, back to the work origin, which are those coordinates.
I hope everybody's have done it, because I can understand that people wonder, how do you put, if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 toolpaths to run with different cutters, how would you get that bang on back to the start point of your work origin? Well, this is the candle, and I mean, I don't know how it does it in the software, but I just know that when I change, that's what happens. I move it away, or I zero off with a tool change, if you can do it from, because if you're doing on a flat surface and you're doing an engraving, 3D engraving, then you might have a little part of that you can actually still sit your touch probe on to zero off as normal. But a lot of the time is, if you're close to it, you won't get you might not get your cutter out. So what I do is I move it away, change the cutter, move it back to a point where I can zero off. Or what I do sometimes is I'll have a piece of the same material what I am using on the bed of the machine, and then I'll change the cutter, bring it over, touch off on that, and once I've done that, you've zeroed off, because it's the same thickness material as what the job is. So it makes it a bit easier. You just leave the machine where it is, the cutter head with a new cutter in, you've touched off, and then you go back on and you actually send your G code or your next toolpath, and the machine will go back to that work origin coordinates up there and then start from there. Okay, but I must emphasize is when I'm going from candle to the offline controller, which I absolutely love the offline controller because I'm used to my main machine, my pro machine having it, is always I switch off the machine, power off, and then connect up and then switch back on. Alright, it's just to stop any residual coordinates being installed in one or the other. I did have an issue where I didn't realise I'd left the offline controller connected, and when I come to send the machine, it was a click to move the y-axis plus, which is away from the home position, and it just carried on, and I thought, what's wrong with this? So, and all I did was just powered off, disconnected the offline controller, and then connected the USB again, powered back on, home machine, and it worked fine. So it's just, everybody has their own ways of working it, but mine's the same with the pro machine. When I do anything or change a job, home it, get them 00 coordinates back, and then you start afresh. But this is solely to show that you can tool change and put another toolpath in, and it goes back to exactly the starting point. Okay, even though you've moved the machine, and the only thing you need to do is zero off. And right, what I'm going to do now is, I hope that's explained that in candle a bit, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over and show you it does the same with the offline controller. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go over to the offline controller.
Right, here we are at offline controller. You'll have to excuse me because I'm going to be doing this with one hand. A bit cramped in here at the moment. It's raining outside and I've got all the motorbikes in, so I've not a lot of room in the workshop. Right, here we are at control, the offline controller. It's disconnected from the USB. I've powered off and switched back on and connected the controller back up. Okay, so first thing you do is go down to your settings, and you'd look, and you need to be on there, 3-axis mode. My Z probe's set up, so I've no need to bother about that one. Right, you go back to your prepare. Now I'm going to be doing the same program that the word Sainsmart, because obviously it's a quick program. The feed speed set at 2500. Now what I would do is first thing I'd do is home the machine. So I press that, and as you can see, the machine is homing. There we go. By the way, this has got the new upgraded rather Z-axis on, and it's a lot better. But anyway, that's I've covered that in another previous video. Right, we're at home now. So first thing I want to do is move back to that cross. Okay, so we'll go back up, and I'll bring the X-axis across first. That's coming across. There we are. And then I'll take the Y-axis to plus. That's it. We're on plus now. Okay. Okay. Now what we'll do now is we'll do the Z probe. So I'll take it down to the probe. Okay, everybody see that? I'll just have to pop that down for a moment because I've only got one hand. Right, so here we are on the probe, and all I'll do is touch off that. Pop that down, as I did before, just so that it doesn't touch the material when it's working the cut. I'll get it down close enough, and then once I think it's close enough for the thing, there you go. It's as though it's touched off. Okay, pop that back up there. Put that on there. Right. So now we're over there. The board's loose, so I'll just move it there. It saves a bit of time. Okay. Right. So where we are now, and what we're going to do now is Z probe's been zeroed off, or Z-axis. We're going to not do it zero each individual one the same, but what we're going to do is zero them both together. Okay, so we zero that. They're zeroed. Now, although it says zero there, the controller knows that as 0, 0 now on both X and Y. Okay, we'll go down to a file, insert a file, and the one that we're going to do is the Sainsmart at the bottom. Okay, Sainsmart. Right, then we'd go, the file's loaded, we go down to for the play, and then we'd just press play. Yeah, exactly doing what Candle software did that I showed you. In the same spot, it's running the same G code. And you can see the coordinates changing all the time. X and Y and the Z. As it lifts in and out on the Z, and as it moves around on the X and Y. Status bar 47, 48%. I mean, it's only a quick program, but this is just to show you how doing a different toolpath and a cutter change is pretty simple, really. And a lot of people were concerned about it. I'd had one or two. I'd spent quite and it was very difficult to explain to somebody by typing. It's easy when you show them. As I say, this is how I do it. Other people might have different views on it, but this is how I use the Candle, and I use the offline controller. But to be fair, a lot of people like to see the offline controller working and the candle where the cutter's going, but I like my offline controller. You put the software program in or the toolpath in and it just runs. There you go. It's finished and it's back at the work coordinates, which is, if you look at there, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and your start point there. So right, now what we do is you would move, if you wanted to just change the cutter while it's there at that particular point, you could do. You could just touch off and then you go back down to your open file there and you would just install the next toolpath, okay, and that toolpath would carry on exactly from those work coordinates. Alright, now what I'll do is I'll move the machine just to show you. So we'll go back onto the next page there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my favourite is I move the y-axis plus or minus, so I'll move it to minus. Oh no, I'll move it to plus. It's a bit easy to see. Okay, so as you can see, I'm moving that to plus. Right, so I've moved the machine away from the work origin, which is that cross, and I'm going to use the touch off probe. I ain't going to use it, but I'm just saying, change the cutter now, put the touch off probe down. If it's not there, it's where you can get a flat surface for the surface of your job, your workpiece. Touch off, and then that set the Z coordinates for the touch off. Okay, then we'll go back onto here, and then what we do then is we go to start your project again. Okay, now obviously if you look, the y-axis has changed those coordinates, haven't they? Alright, but it's still remembered the 0, 0 coordinates, because if you zeroed now, that would start from there on the y-axis. Okay, so we go down and we'd install as new Sainsmart whatever your toolpath program is, install that, and then you go back down to here. Okay, and then what you would do then is, remember those coordinates there originally were set at 0, 0, so what we'd do is run the program. Watch what the machine's doing. Going back to 0, 0. And there you go. It's doing the carving or your toolpath, whatever that is, again. And it has remembered those 0, 0s of X and Y on the handheld controller. So you can change your cutter as many times as you want and install another toolpath. You look at the 39%. As I say, and I've said it on numerous of my videos, I love this handheld controller. I don't have to, a lot of the time is if I'm doing another program on the computer, it releases the computer. I'm not messing around and then, oh, what's happened? Machine's crashed. You'll not pick it back up where that machine's left. Very difficult to do. You'd have to remember that, well, hope it's remembered the coordinates if it's not that bad, the crash, and then run the full program again. Well, if you've been running 2 hours, it's another 2 hours wasted. There we are. 86, 87%. There we go, finished. Back on your 0, 0, 0, and your z-axis shows 5 there. It's back, same coordinates. So now if you wanted to put another toolpath in, you would do the same. Okay, I just hope it's made it how simple and clear, easy it is really to change cutters and install another toolpath. But it works, and it picks up exactly where you started your work. It remembers your work coordinates, and I think it does the same. It stores it inside a file or an area in the handheld controller, or maybe the main control unit. I don't know. I'm not that technically minded with that, where it stores it, but I know it remembers the coordinates like it does on Candle. Right, I'm back round now. I just hope that how I've explained how you can do different toolpaths and cutter changes for a specific job, however many toolpaths you've got to run. I mean, I did a project the other day for somebody, and I did it on the main machine. I didn't do it on this one, and I'd like 8 different cutter changes, and it doesn't matter. It's same with this. If you've 8 toolpaths, there'll be different toolpaths, because you can't have. You must stop. You must create a different toolpath for a cutter change. All right, but it just shows that whether Candle or whether offline controller, you can move the machine away, touch off, because you can't always. I couldn't touch off on the job the other day because I'd cut away where originally touched off, so it was uneven. But remember what I said is I always had a piece of material the same thickness or the same as where I touched off. I always do that. It's just habit for me. And I touched back up, pulled the machine away, touched off on that, and then I sent the next toolpath, and it went back to work coordinates and started from there. Alright, offline controller, Candle, they both do the same. Right, that concludes my video. It's only a short one. It's unusual for me, but as I always say to you, like and subscribe, please, and please, let me know, message me and let me know if it's helped you what I've shown you, and also let me know if you do it a different way, because this is how I've learned. I mean, the other day, for instance, had a problem with my electric. Cut a long story short, a problem with my electric razor, and it needed a new 3 cutter head. And I went online, try and find one. They were nearly £40, and I thought, oh my god. And I'd had the electric razor about 4 years. So I thought it's due for a change. I just went on YouTube. I thought, I'll just go on YouTube and find out. And there was a gentleman on there, and he just said, anybody out there having to pay for this particular model for a new cutter head, this is what you do. And it works for some other ones as well, the rotary ones. And he showed you how to strip it to pieces, clean it in isopropyl alcohol, get the cutting blades, the little row with number of fingers on inside, and I put it on it was one of my diamond discs that I have. It's ultra fine, it's as though there's nothing there. And he said just spin it round gently on it with a bit of water on, and I did that on each one, pop them back in, put them on. My god, it saved me nearly £40. It just worked. It gives me a lovely shave. It seems quicker. It doesn't leave my face sore. I thought, that's how good YouTube is, and this is what I say when you're passing information on from. I always try, if somebody tells me, and I get a lot of feedback saying, oh, I do this a different way, I will mention it, I don't mention the name of the person, but I mention it ain't my idea, it's somebody else's, and I always pass it on because it's the way we learn, you know. And obviously YouTube has a vast amount of knowledge into the videos that's out there, and I always say, when you want to fix a phone, go on YouTube and see if there's anybody. There'll be somebody out there. So anyway, enough of me babbling on. So as I say, like and subscribe, it does help me. As I always say, until next time, be safe, be careful, and bye for now.